Hello baby gangsters, this is Calvin, also known as Romer, and this is my first ever playthrough of Phoenix Wright, Ace Attorney, Spirit of Justice. And we're about to do the divination seance, which is going to be intense, like we know it will be. The victim's final moments. This should be interesting. This is the first time Apollo has seen this, right? I wonder what Aiden's memories are going to show us. It's going to be a big deal for Apollo, for sure.
O Holy Mother, we hold this divination seance in your name. Let the eyes of everyone here be clear, and our ears be unstopped.
It has a different gravitas to it now, a different energy to it now after what happened with Rafa last time, right?
O dance of devotion, guide the victim's soul to me, so that we may receive their final memories in the pool of souls.
Like, it's such a different energy after everything that's happened. Like, it almost feels like she's doing it for her own determination. She's doing it to help rather than just to convict. You know what I mean? It's different now. It has a whole different weight to it this time around doing it. It's no longer for her mother. It's technically for Apollo, but it's also for Dirk. It's for the truth. It's for her people. It's a completely different situation than we are used to with the divination seance. It's probably the last time we'll see it, right? For sure. Like, it's so crazy how something that was always like a really beautiful choreographed dance and very like spiritual and very cultural went from being something that kind of like was kind of scary because we knew what was about to happen, and still is scary. It's still nerve-wracking. But now it has a completely different meaning behind it for Rafa as well, right? Completely different. So strong. She's so strong to be able to do this as well. Knowing that her father's death is on the other side of this. Regardless of how evil her father was, it was still her dad. You know what I mean? Like, regardless. As I always say, I don't ever feel sorry for the dead father. I feel sorry for the daughter. You know? 100%. Couldn't give a damn about Dirk, if I'm being honest with you. But I always will feel for Rafa. For sure. So grapes and incense. So he's drinking some wine. Oh, it's sour. It's a bit bitter. Bit of a sour taste to the wine. Is he looking at the picture? Footsteps. But he's walking, right? A man's voice. That's not his own. Pain. Wait, what? And then Dirk is standing here with blood all over him? That's Dirk, right? And then he has the gun as well. But wouldn't, if he shot at, no, if he shot at Dirk though and laughter, if he shot at Dirk, wouldn't like that be identified as Dirk's? No, they did identify technically in the court system as Dirk's blood, right? What in the? A faceless being? So maybe it needs to be clearer in terms, like remember this happened last time where we didn't get the full idea of it already? What the heck? His face, it's just like that picture of the... Wait, do you think he melded it with it in his mind together? Because he was looking at the picture. The thing that kind of interests me about this as well is that when the man's voice appeared, right? One of the things that was really interesting to me is that, like, if this was Dirk's voice, he wouldn't stay looking at the painting, right? You'd be on the defensive, right? This music. So that leads me to believe there was another person there that he knew. Because why would he just stay, like, back turned to this voice, right? Like, we couldn't see anyone in front of him if he knew what the voice was, you know? Or I mean, if he was Dirk. Like, I feel like he must have, like, known the voice of some kind, right? I think it's the last thing anyone expected to see. You know what I mean? Like, what I'm saying is, like, if you're standing there in the middle of this building, or this if you're standing in this place, and then you hear Dirk's voice, a known person that has been out to get you for years who does not like you, you don't like him, you're probably going to turn around and be like, Dirk, what are you doing here? You know, or Dirk, you're here. But instead he just stayed looking forward without any, like, you know what I mean? I think he probably knew the person. That's what makes me think that's the third person. Father, what was it? What was it you saw? Are we to understand that this was the last one to think the victim saw? Yes, there can be no mistake. That was my father himself witnessed. How very strange. You don't suppose the Holy Mother possessed the accused and slew Mr. Igna for planning a coup? The divine wrath of the Holy Mother. Interesting that they're seeing this as kind of like a divine thing. Talk about a sharp left turn into the Twilight Zone. You know, there is one thing in there that caught my attention. The laughter? That laugh. Who does it belong to and why are they laughing? That's the thing as well. Dirk wouldn't laugh after he killed him, right? Unless he was like, you know... Like, I wouldn't... If he did laugh after killing Igna, like, I wouldn't shame him because, like, Igna deserved it. But, like, it just doesn't sound like Dirk. You know? Who knows, though? I suppose... Well, he does have a laugh, though. I suppose it could be Dirk after he slew my husband. He does have a big, hefty laugh, right? But that figure didn't even have a mouth. And he appeared in front of him. There was nobody in front of him. And he pointed the gun at Dirk. If that's Dirk's blood after being shot, then there would be, like, a gun wound. I think we're done here, lawyer. No, you can't just say we're done here. I'm not having this anymore with you. It's not happening. How so? You claimed that Minister Igna was stabbed in his private quarters, and feeling no pain went to the tomb when he eventually fell dead. So now she's saying, well, he felt pain here and he clearly got stabbed in the temple. Right? You can see the pain shot up on the screen there. But the seance vision proves he was stabbed in the tomb and felt great pain no less. What if you stabbed somewhere like else? What if that was when someone pulled out the knife? Think about that. Oh, that technically he did, you know, he was drinking wine in the temple, so that does, like, maybe, I don't know, it changes things. Therefore, as I said it all along, it was the accused who stabbed the minister in the tomb. That seance doesn't sell that fully, you know? It doesn't sell it fully yet. Everything just backfired. Big time. No. Apollo, please. Keep this together. We can do this. There's already something that's discrepancy to me. Why wouldn't he turn her? If Igna of all people heard Dirk's voice, you're turning around. You're being like, what the hell are you doing here? The fact that he just stayed standing there even though he heard Dirk's voice. Gran has devil's own luck, doesn't she? You okay, Riva? Now then, I shall give voice to the soul of the deceased. Listen well and heed these words. Okay, we have a little bit of a statement going on here then, yeah, afterwards. You okay, Rifa? We're singing you okay every 2 seconds. I'm just worried about her. I really am. Rifa's insight. At around 3 p.m., my father was waiting in the tomb to make the hostage exchange. She's saying it so openly, by the way, the hostage exchange. He was drinking grape juice while gazing upon the picture of the Holy Mother. So he was just staring at the picture. He had been waiting vigilantly when suddenly he heard Dirk's voice. So it's Dirk's voice? But what? That doesn't make any sense to me. The next moment, he was stabbed in the back and collapsed. Because if it was Dirk's voice, I think he stayed staring at the painting. Why would he do that? Why would he stay looking at the painting? You're not going to let your guard down around a rebel. Especially when you're already, trying to do a hostage exchange with Maya. You're not going to let your guard down. My father tried to shoot his attacker, but he missed. And the attacker let out a laugh. Oh, that's why, yeah, he did miss. Yeah, the bullet went into the vase. I remember that now. So what now, Mr. Wright? You got this, Apollo. You got this. Okay, I think it's one of those situations where we can't just interpret it as Dirk's voice yet. Right? That's the thing. I think that's what we have to point out. It's up to us to not hold in Rafa's interpretation of Igna's memories. Yeah, 100%. In other words, we need to prove that her understanding of them could be mistaken. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Okay, I'll give it a try. Yeah, that voice thing is the first thing I want to look up. To me, it does not make any sense. So, it would probably be like when he says when she says Dirk's voice. When you heard Dirk's voice. Right? And here, right? Because look, this is what I'm talking about. He heard his voice. Not only did he didn't turn around and go, Dirk, oh my god, it's Dirk. He like stayed staring at the painting, right?
Objection!
Right? Like, why? If it was Dirk, why wouldn't he try to like? It's just common sense. It doesn't matter who you are. If your enemy walks through the door as someone who like has openly fought against you in a rebellion, and you hear their voice, you're not going to just stand there. Your benevolence. There seems to be an inconsistency in your interpretation. An inconsistency where? Minister Ignis far too relaxed for what's supposedly about to take place. That's true too. It's a hostage negotiation. It's a hostage negotiation. When he heard the voice you claim is Dirk's, he didn't seem the least bit alarmed. He just kept looking at the picture of the founder. That's it, exactly. Ah. That's strange, right? That's strange, right? He was waiting for Dirk to arrive with the founder's orb. But when he heard that voice, he didn't even turn to look. Especially if he had Maya tied to a chair or something, right? You know what I mean? At that point, like, you're going to make... And she was on the other side of the room. You're going to want to make sure that she is, like, in full view. Because what happens then, if Dirk walks in the door, Maya's to the right. This is where the positioning was. Maya's to the right. His table is over there. He's in front of the picture. If you hear Dirk's voice, Dirk has every chance now to just grab Maya. You know? He has every chance to grab Maya. Don't you think that would have been he worried about being attacked from behind? Exactly. It's okay. Whose voice was it? Again, it's still gonna be tough to get, like, you know, to be told that you're wrong with your interpretation. But I think hopefully this time she realizes it's actually beneficial to us that she does get it wrong. You know, it was likely someone whose presence would have alarmed him. Someone like a friend.
Objection!
But there was no third party at the scene of the crime. Therefore, the voice can only have belonged to Dirk. The voice of a third party who wasn't there in the tomb? Apollo, don't we have something that could reveal the owner of the mysterious voice? Do we? Do we have something? Do we? Maybe you'll give more information. Do we have... I'm trying to think now. Do we have something about that? Something that Igna had while he was waiting for Dirk. What did he have? With it, we might just be able to figure out whose voice it was. I believe we can identify the male's voice Minister Igna heard with this. What did he have? What? Is there something that it says he had on him? No. Oh, could it be the phone? Was he talking to someone on the phone when this happened? And that's the voice we heard? Right. I think I might be him. If it's something he had on him, he had his phone on him. Yep. That's my father's. Oh, Rafa, yet having to see this and have it presented as evidence, you know. I know this must be hard for you, but could you please look at this photo? Jesus, man. That's so rough. There's something here that I can point us towards the identity of the voice. This is the real source of the man's voice. It's the phone. Whoever was on the phone was who he was talking to. A cell phone? Right. I believe that the voices the minister heard was a call on the cell phone. I see. Well, that certainly makes sense. What's your eminence view on the matter? I can see the possibility. Okay. Then it seems I must refine my vision. That's perfectly fine. Thank you so much, Reva. So it's subordinate's voice. Okay, we change it. It appears that the voice belonged to one of my father's subordinates. I think she can only refine it once she has more information, right? If she could refine it from the start, she would just do it, you know? Why do you suppose he was talking to one of them? My father and members of the secret police positioned throughout the palace. They were supposed to contact him as soon as they saw Dirk and the rest of you. Okay, now we're getting somewhere. Your benevolence, I believe you have an insight to revise. I know, Bob Ted. Don't presume to tell me how to do my duty. I kind of like that she's still a bit snappy, you know? Like, she's still like a bit of herself. You know? Very, very fun. I like that, you know? She hasn't lost her sharpness. Okay. And Farah tried to shoot his attacker, but he missed and the attacker let out a laugh. Yeah, I like it. So the voice is coming from the phone. That's good to know. But there might be other sounds coming from the phone. The phone sounds that could be clues. Okay, so we have to listen closely to the phone call. You know what's so interesting about her still calling him Barbed Head? It's actually a tournament of endearment now, isn't it? The same thing with Horned Head. She really, really likes these guys now. Let's take a look at Rafa's insights and really focus on the various sensations. Okay, I think I'm getting the hang of this now. So we have to listen to when he's on the phone, I guess. So do we talk about these? So that's when they took the fall. Okay, I think it'll be on this statement for sure. So this is when he went over here. He was on the phone. He heard the man's voice around here. Subordinate's voice. Is there anything else we can hear from this? A lion's roar? A lion's roar?
Objection!
What? That's definitely something new. I hate to break it to you, Your Benevolence, but you misinterpreted something again. What do you mean? It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. Again, it's okay. It's okay. Don't say that. Yeah, Apollo, we have to rephrase our wording. Smooth move, Apollo. I think you just hurt her feelings. Again, it's like, you know, he's still in like court mode, and that's how Apollo speaks in courtrooms. That's how we all speak in courtrooms. But I think sometimes we have to like put ourselves back in reality and realize we're dealing with like, you know, a 14-year-old kid here who still has some very self-conscious feelings about themselves. She may put on a brave face, but she feels more than she lets on. I agree, Phoenix. She is very self-conscious. Of course she is. Let me rephrase that, Your Benevolence. Your interpretation of your father's phone call to his subordinates at the palace is inconsistent with his final memory. What do you mean by that? Because we have to continue the knowledge for her that she knows that she's helping here. You know what I mean? It's not just her making mistakes. Like, it's her interpretation is helping us get to the truth here. A lion's roar could be heard over the phone. Don't you find that strange? You claimed the call was with someone at the palace. But let me ask you, do you keep lions there? No. The only animals at the palace are little birdies and my pet frog. Oh, she's a pet frog. She's a pet frog. Wait, that's a giant one in front of the minister's house. Is her pet? Wait, what? The giant one? There's a giant frog or bird? Besides, there aren't any lions in Karain. We don't even have any zoos. A rather sad state of affairs, I'm afraid. This is what I'm talking about, how like they reveal so many times that she is like still a kid. You know what I mean? She wants to go to the zoo. She wants to watch TV. She's curious about things, and they keep revealing this here, you know? Well, I remember hearing a sound like that. Do we? The lion's roar coming from the phone is actually from something hanging out in... the bazaar. It's the freaking warbird. Right? It's the warbird bird. Isn't that the cry of a warbird over in the bazaar? Perfect. Your Benevolence, do you think you can clarify the voice for me? Very well. I will now attempt to further refine my vision. You're doing so good. You're doing so amazing at this stage. So it's a warbird's cry. Okay. What's this? So they were in the bazaar at the time, whoever they were talking to. Just as I suspected. It was the call of a warbird. That means the subordinate Minister Igna was talking to... was in the bazaar, not the palace. But why is that important where the call came from? What significance could it have? She's right. It's important to know where the call is made from. Let's go with important. No, I meant it's important. Sorry, guys. I took a quick break. No. Not a quick break. Like I literally like went to the bathroom. And I came back. No. It's actually very important. What? No. Am I gonna lose points for this? Knowing that the person on the other end was the bazaar at the bazaar means that the loud explosion might not have been the sound of a gunshot. It was a firecracker. It was the firecracker. Because remember, that's what happened. It was a firecracker. In the bazaar, Dats threw a firecracker at, remember, it scared Shadow and then he ran off, and that's where he found Nana's hat. Oh my god, it's a firecracker. It's a firecracker. I can't think of no other item that makes such a noise in the area. Go ahead, Apollo. Tell her. Tell Ray for the real source of that sound. It was the freaking firecracker. Well, Hornhead, I'm waiting. What was the true source of that explosive sound? I remember this so clearly because it was like so combined with the warbad, and it was what scared Shadow and it's the significance of what Albie was even telling us. I think it even says it in his statement. Yeah, here, look. Through a firecracker. Yeah, 100%. 100%. 100%. That's freaking awesome the way the firecrackers came back up like that. It wasn't just That's a Rebel beam. Well, it was That's a Rebel being very crazy, but it's actually brought back up here. It's Albie, your guide's statement. In the claims that That's a Rebel threw a firecracker when he was at the bazaar. Then, yes, the sound heard over the phone was a firecracker exploding, so it was someone in the bazaar. Now, we know that Shadow got a hold of Nana's hat. Are we saying that Nana could have been in the courtyard? Because I thought that they were saying she was in the, not the courtyard, I thought she was in the courtyard. But, because it says here she was in, they went to the courtyard, right? But what if she was actually in the bazaar when he took it? Because he said when he caught up to him in the courtyard, it wasn't that she was in the courtyard. Or that she was in the courtyard. It was that, like, you know what I'm saying? When Albie caught up to him in the courtyard, Shadow had what was Nana's hat. If he ran off into the crowd in the bazaar, he could have taken Nana's hat there in that moment. She maybe was there in the bazaar. He could have been talking to Nana. And yet, a bullet was found at the scene of the crime. A bullet fired from Mr. Igna's gun. How do you explain that? What do you mean, how do you explain that? Well, we don't know whether it was fired during the course of the crime, right? Or do you have evidence that proves when the pistol was discharged? Oh. No, I have none. She seems to be backing down quite a bit more, right? Wait a second. If that loud bang was a firecracker, then could that laugh at the end have been... It was freaking... Remember, he was laughing his head off at Albie. Remember, he was laughing after he was using the firecrackers? It was That's a Rebel's laugh. No, it can't be. It was That's a Rebel's laugh. Oh, it can, and it is. Lovely line here from Apollo. The laugh came from none other than the Joker who got a kick out of starting Albie with the dragon snaps. Look at our little boy. Yep, it was him. Happy-go-lucky That's a Rebel. What? So it was That's a Rebel was laughing, and it was the firecrackers was the sound, the lion's roar was the warbad. Someone should really put a leash on that guy. I agree. I don't disagree. I don't disagree with you. I shudder to think how one man can be the cause of so much trouble. He is literally the basis for a lot of our realizations in these trials. Oh my god, he's laughing right now. Hey there, AJ, PW. Y'all can thank me later. No one asked for your commentary, Mr. Rebel. I mean, I did, kind of. I would always want his commentary. He's hilarious. Good benevolence, you need to revise your insight? It would appear so. So we need to do it again. My father took a call. So my father took a call from the subordinate at the bazaar. My father... Oh, here we go again. The true source of the loud bang was the firecracker that grew through. It worries me that the queen is just kind of letting us do this, by the way. You know what I mean? I worry that she's walking us into another trap. And that final laugh belonged to no other than Dats himself. None other than Dats himself. Well, this changes everything. Let's go over the details of Rafa's insight again, sure? Okay. I think I've got this down now. Time to find another inconsistency. I love that Apollo's really finding himself with this. He's doing a good job. 3 p.m. My father was waiting in the tomb to make a hostage exchange. Wait, so they're going to show us something new now? Like around here with the noises? Warbad's cry. Dog's bark. That's Shadow. There's the pain. He saw this. And then the gun was pointed up. And that's when the laughter came. That's the firecracker. And that's the laughter. So what did they want me to do with this? Did you want to, like... The thing we were talking about last was, like, the firecracker explosion, right? That was the big thing, right? So maybe it is to do with the actual explosion itself, maybe? But what can we... I think it probably has to do with this, right? With the actual explosion and the laughter. Right? I think it has to do with the explosion again. Because we have to, like, prove this wasn't the gun, right? Is that what we're trying to prove here? So search for a contradictory sensation. But what would we do to contradict is just to say that it was the firecracker? But I don't think that like kind of like proves that it was a firecracker just by saying it's the firecracker. Right? Like all we have is like we have this here, but that again, we already presented this. Yes. We have to choose a statement as well, I think. Because look at this. At 3 p.m., my father was waiting in the tomb to make a hostage exchange. At 2 p.m. is when the firecracker went off. This happened before. He died well before. The hostage exchange, right? It wasn't 3 p.m. It was 2 p.m. He was drinking that grape juice. We can't present evidence, right? So do we just say that... Do we... Okay. I think maybe we focus on the laughter more than the explosion, because that would say that that's a rebel's laugh. We've kind of proven that's a rebel's laugh, right? Am I wrong with that?
Objection!
Did the murder really happen at 3 p.m.? I mean, if the laugh is coming from the phone, yes, exactly. Then it is something Mr. Ignan wouldn't have really heard at 3 p.m.? Exactly. How could he? The call came from the bazaar. A place where such sounds as laughter can be heard at any time. Oh, so maybe they're saying the explosion? Even if that was that's, he could very well have been laughing like a fool at 3 p.m. That's the thing. Rafe is so smart. Rafe is so smart. Laughter is a common thing you would hear on a phone regardless. She's so smart. Yeah, you have a point there. So it's the explosion we have to point out. I advise you think again. Carefully. That was very pleasant of her. I think you're getting warmer, but you're still a little off. Yeah, I agree. It is definitely about the explosion rather than the actual laughter. Because Rafe is so correct. You could hear laughter at any point. Is there any other sensation that could definitely pinpoint the time of the call? You know, something that could only occur at a certain time. Yep, time to review the evidence again. Maybe it'll help me spot the inconsistency. Yeah, no. Thank you so much, Rafa. Fast forward to the end here. And we'll do the explosion. It's the firecracker. That makes perfect sense. Rafa? Invaluable, right? Put us right back on the right path.
Objection!
And there the music stops. Really, really good stuff. Your benevolence, there's a glaring problem with this insight. There is? You stated that the murder happened at around 3 p.m., which is right around the time my client arrived on the scene. However, now we know that the source of the loud bang is... Your insight conflicts with a certain piece of evidence. I suppose I have to ask the obvious here. What evidence conflicts with the claim that the murder occurred at 3 p.m.? It's the Albie's thing again? Albie's statement? Because he said 2 p.m. Yeah, he said 2 p.m. Albie's statement again? We rarely get to present evidence twice sometimes, but this just makes perfect sense, right? Like, there's nothing else we have that would point to that. Because to summarize what he said, at around 2 p.m., Shadow was surprised by the firecracker and ran into the palace courtyard. Around 2 p.m.? That's right. 2 p.m. Not 3 p.m. It's okay. As always, it's okay. Oh my god, she looks scary. Jesus Christ. Oh my god, that's actually scary. I think you know where I'm going with this. That was actually so scary, that facial expression. That's laugh, the cry of the warbat, and the bang of the firecracker were all heard right before Minister Igna's death. Thanks to Albie's statement, we can put a definitive timestamp on all these sounds. Therefore, what this vision shows is extremely likely that the deceased final moments were at 2 rather than 3 as we originally thought. That changes. It does change everything, right? Because then that's the well before we arrived here, right? Well before we arrived there. Dare I ask? Love the slamming on the table every time. It means the murder took place a full hour before Dirk entered the tomb. 100%. Yeah, before we arrived there. Luca. She is terrifying. She is terrifying. This is so huge, though. This is a big, massive change. Now, I'm sure the Queen will turn around in some way, but this is huge. This is huge. Are you saying that I, the very personification of the law, have been mistaken? Oh, God, shattering your nails? Now you see why justice will always prevail. That's a great line. You should have said that out loud. You know, you should have said that right out loud. That's a great line, Apollo, especially for your name. It's a huge turnaround, right? It's a huge change. I feel so bad that freaking Nayuta's just standing there like a prisoner. Peace, peace, I say. Now within defense, I must remind you that the figure of the accused was clearly shown in the vision. How do you explain that? I wouldn't say it was clearly shown. After all, the figure didn't have an actual face, and he would know Dirk's face. You are absolutely right. Without the face, it can't be certain who it was. Furthermore, I need to remind you that if the vision was from 2 p.m., Dirk was still with me, Mr. Wright. Exactly. Is that not a solid alibi? Well, you could say he's probably she could say we were lying, right? Which means the faceless figure couldn't have possibly been him. So then what are we to make of this 1 hour difference? Wait, 2 o'clock? That's when... My mother was performing the rite of the channeling. Wait. The palace guards had all been reassigned to guard the channeling chamber for the rite. Don't tell me. The royal residence would have been virtually unguarded? So they're saying that there was no one there to protect him either. I thought they were going to say that she was channeling him or something, or channeling Dirk, and that's why he saw kind of like a vision of Dirk. Which means the real killer could have easily slipped unseen into Amara's tomb. Defense, are you saying this is someone disguised as the accused? I thought for a second they were saying she channeled him, but then again, if she was in another place, that's different. So this could have been someone just like randomly coming in here then, I guess. Huge. That's exactly what I believe, Your Majesty. I'm worried about when the pin is going to drop because you know that Garan is not going to take this line down. I'm so worried. I know we should just enjoy the moments where we're winning, but with the how heavy this last trial is, I'm just always just anxious. I'm sitting here kind of like, oh, when's it going to happen? When's it going to happen? Even though we should enjoy these moments that Apollo gets a little bit of a victory here, you know? Oh, Nayuta. Preposterous. Disguises cannot deceive the memories of the dead. That face did not appear this time as mere happenstance. Had it appeared, such subterfuge would have been clear as day. He's got a point there. I mean, yes, it could just be a coincidence, but at the same time, too, the way I look at it, too, is that, like, these things, like, we can't just pick and choose how we interpret these things. Either we, like, you know, either we see the face and we say that's them, or we don't see the face and then we can't. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like it'd be so unfair in a court system to be like, I didn't see their face, but they were wearing the clothes that this person usually wears. You could say that, you know, I know that would still hold up in court, but I still think you would still have to identify, you know, the person, you know, in my opinion. But I understand what they're saying. Anyone who knows about the divination seance would have tried to hide their face. Nevertheless, our killer openly appeared before Igna. The question is why? Did they want to be seen? That's the thing. Did they want to be seen as Dirk? Apollo. Maybe the killer could afford to be so bold because they knew their face wouldn't show up in the seance vision. Wait, what? What do you mean? It's possible the killer dared to dress in Dirk's clothes and stand square in front of Igna precisely because they knew they could get away with it. So, wait. How did they know their face wasn't going to be shown? But how can anyone be so sure of something like that? A long time ago, I heard of a cognitive disorder that impairs the person's ability to distinguish between different faces. What if Igna had it? How? Do we have any evidence of this? Is that what this is for? Wait, is that what this is for? He wasn't making a list of... I thought he was doing a hit job. No, he was trying to remember what people look like by their clothes and their like different features. No way. No way. I thought it was he was doing a hit. Then are you saying that this is literally how Igna saw the world? So yes, we can't normally see through the eyes of others, but if this is the case, we can. In this case, we can. And if he had this disorder, I imagine this is how faces appear to him in life. Okay, let's say that the killer knew that Igna had such a disorder. They could definitely use it to pin the crime on Dirk. But if you're wondering about how to prove that Igna had it, you already have what you need, the notepad. But does that prove it, or is just like give us some insight into that he was like, not very knowledgeable on faces? Really? Well, defense, do you have anything to show this to the court? That is huge. Frankly, I have no idea what Mr. Wright means, but I'll look at the evidence over again. No, I know exactly what he's talking about. This thing makes so much sense now. He used this stuff to describe people. I thought he was doing a hit job, but this makes much more sense. It makes much more sense. What explains why the face of Mr. Igna's killer is absent in the seance vision? It has to be this, right? This is him, like... Because now it makes sense. Like, if you're describing someone... Well, you would use this to describe someone, right? But Igna still had this note. It wasn't like you wrote it and handed it to someone to, like, do a hit job.
Take that!
You know what I mean? He still had this note. A notepad? Yes, it was found in Minister Igna's room. And it holds the answer we're looking for. As you can see, it's filled with detailed notes on various individuals. Because the thing is, if this note was found in someone else's room from Igna, you'd be like, it's a hit job. But now that you think about it, he has it. Why would he keep this note? Because he has to remind himself of what they look like. What kind of clothes they wear, hairstyles, and other discerning physical characteristics. And this is connection to the faceless nature of the killer. How? Because I also think that, like, we underestimate how much we, like, really discern people from their eyes and their, like, smile and all this stuff too. Like, there's a reason why, like, some superheroes can just cover their eyes and style their hair in a different way and they look a lot different, right? It is, we don't think about it normally, but I think we do, like, recognize people by their faces, first of all, through everything, you know? Because someone can have a different hairstyle and you won't recognize them until, like, you really see their face and you go, oh, it's you, you know? The vision we saw was exactly what Minister Igna saw with his own eyes. It is he who saw the killer and as a person without a face. In fact, this is how he normally saw everyone around him. What's this? I believe Mr. Igna had a disorder that prevented him from recognizing faces. It would explain the faceless being, and why he needed a notepad full of people's physical characteristics. Now that I think about it, my father was always terrible at remembering people. By simply changing my hairstyle, he would fail to recognize even me. It's funny that I was like, yeah, you can recognize it. But I meant more like, this is so true what she's saying. I meant more in the case of just like, you know, when you change your hairstyle at first and then someone's like, who is that? And then they look at your face and they go, oh. But in this case, it actually what I said before helps this. Because usually you get to, when someone changes their hairstyle, you don't notice them at first and then you see their face and you go, that's that person, right? But in this case, he actually didn't recognize her because he saw her new hairstyle but couldn't get to see her face, so he had to, like, you know, be reminded possibly. And if Rafe is acknowledging this and Rafe is like vouching for this, you would not, even if your daughter changed her hairstyle, you would not fail to recognize her. Unless she like shaved her head, you would take a second to be like, oh, it's you, you know. But even like if you're close up to your daughter, you're not going to forget her face. You're not. Your Eminence, you knew that your husband had such a disorder, didn't you? He never wished for it to become public knowledge. But I suppose there was no use in keeping quiet about it now. It is as you say. My late husband had a special disorder that hindered his ability to recognize faces, and she's saying it's true. There it is. The medical term for it is prosopagnosia. Is this real? Is this real? So Mr. Wright was right. I love the working together here with Wright and Apollo. It's so good. The memories of those afflicted with such disorders in life do appear strange at times. There's a precedent for this. So the killer likely knew about the disorder and used it to their advantage. Right, so there's someone who is both knowledgeable about the divination seance and aware of Igna's affliction. Your Eminence? Who knew about your husband's condition? This is a good question. A small number of servants who tended to his needs. And me. Surely you're not about to insinuate that I committed this crime. Why would you say it like that? Oh no, Your Eminence. Still, could she have done it? Look at this smile on Apollo's face, the nervous smile. I don't. Grant has an alibi, remember? She was channeling. I think it is she was channeling. If she could have channeled, Dirk, right? All right. She was conducting the rite of channeling at 2 p.m. Exactly. I'm thinking she somehow channeled herself there. She looks amazing here, by the way. But I genuinely think it's something to do with channeling. Why would it be at the exact same time? Why would it be someone that he knows? Someone that was aware of his condition? In that case. Your Eminence, does Nana know about Mr. Igna's disorder? Of course she does. She is our head servant. So as head servant, she knew about Mr. Igna's condition. And as the prince's personal attendant, she was familiar with the divination seance. If these two facts don't make her a possible suspect, I don't know what would. So we're saying it's Nana?
Objection!
Oh, harsh objection. You witless lawyer, I'll quick you out to forget the facts. She's been waiting to bite back for a bit. She's been quiet and it's been making me nervous. She's been waiting to bite back. Facts like, when Igna was last seen alive, you claim he was slain at 2, yet that's impossible. For Rafa saw him at 2:30. Oh, there we go. We did completely forget about that. No, there must be some mistake. So you see, the murder could only have happened at No, but we have evidence to show that there were sounds that could only have happened at 2 p.m. though. The hour Dirk entered the tomb, there was no other answer to this puzzle. She's really pushing back on this. Why don't we ever get to make up answers like Garam makes up laws? That would be very helpful, but I still think we could push back at this. We have to find a way that Dirk could have been killed. Sorry, not Dirk could have been killed. Igna could have been killed, but also could have been he was injured at 2 p.m. I don't know. I guess it's back to square one. No. Let's use something. You're so pretty right now. Where did we go wrong? I don't think we're the problem. We just seem to be short one piece of the puzzle. I agree. There's something missing. There is something missing from this. Our deductions so far explain everything to a T. Everything except Igna's sighting at 2:30 p.m. I see without that final puzzle, all our deductions fall apart. Paul, if Igna's sighting is the only anomaly, we'll just have to find a way to make it fit into the bigger picture. Time to think outside the box then, right? Okay, it would be impossible to see Igna walking around after being killed. Oh my god. I'm an idiot. Channeling doesn't work where you can just channel someone who is living, right? They have to be dead, right? Am I right in that? They have to be dead. So it's not like she could just channel herself into Dirk, right? Because Dirk's alive. Right? Or can she? I don't know the rules all the time of that. But if Dirk was already been dead, as he's saying, after he'd been killed, is it possible that she used the channeling to channel Igna? If that's the case, that's crazy. So she didn't even see her dad running, but she saw him being scared, right? So I wonder how... This is so confusing. Not confusing in a bad way. I think it's confusing in a way that's like, oh, I really want to find out the answer. It makes me more, curious. What if there's a way to make people think he was alive? Yeah, exactly. Even though he was dead. Like a way to make people witness the living dead. Phoenix, you're so correct in this. Sounds like some kind of TV show. Things like that don't happen in real life. Ah. Yep. Apollo, did you just... I did. I figured it out. I know how to make people witness the living dead. It's so great how they use something that have not. And again, I know people were like, "Well, Calvin, you didn't know if you could channel living or not." But I thought like maybe there was like a power that you could like, I don't know. It gets confusing sometimes. They have to be dead. I think they have to be dead. So instead of the idea of channeling like Dirk, she channeled Igna. Your Majesty, our deductions weren't wrong after all. Despite Minister Igna being murdered at 2 p.m., he was seen heading to the tomb at 2:30 p.m. and I'll tell you how. Imagine making a statement like this. But again, in Khura'in, magic exists. So while this statement is crazy, it's one of the few kingdoms where you could actually follow this up with like actually facts, I certainly hope you will, because I have no idea what you're talking about. This is what's crazy about this thing too, because I feel like there's like this thing in Khura'in where like they like both like are so they have this spiritual connection with magic, seances, channeling, and all this stuff, right? But I think the reason there's a disconnect here for the judge is not because he doesn't believe in this stuff, because I think he believes the queen wouldn't channel Igna after he died. You know what I mean? I think that's what his belief is. The Minister Igna her benevolence saw was in fact someone channeling him. It's right there. It was the deceased being channeled. It's the only way a man who was already dead could have been seen by benevolence. Channeled, you say? That's right. And there's only 2 people capable of spirit channeling here in Khura'in, Maya and Garan. Her Eminence Queen Garan and Maya Faye, and it's not Maya. It's possible that one of them was channeling the minister. Wait, you're saying that Maya could have been channeling her? Why would she? Wait. Could Maya have been channeling him? Like the idea that when she was tied up, she maybe saw him die and tried to channel him to get out of there or something? It would seem that you were ever bent on making me party to this crime. Prosecutor, what was I doing at 2:30 p.m. the time my husband was seen? If you say channeling, Eminence, no, you need to get away from her. I believe you completed with the channeling rite and we're having tea. Okay, so she finished. The king of the neighboring realm. There would have been many attendants there too. So, first of all, Nayuta, we're gonna get you out of there. What's that meme? Nayuta's in the window and I'm like, we're gonna get you out of there. So that could have been Maya. And if she was kidnapped by Igna and she witnessed Igna die or saw Igna die right in front of her, channeling him to get out of this situation would be smart, right? If that's what she did. Now you just keep up with her schedule too. What doesn't she make him do? That's the thing. They're showing that he has just like literally become a lapdog for her. Then that leaves only Maya. It doesn't incriminate Maya, right? It doesn't incriminate her. Yeah, it does. Maybe someone was forcing her to use her power towards the nefarious ends. I legitimately feel like she did it to get out of there. That's my thought process. Or yes, someone could have forced her. That could have been there too. We've had people be forced to do things in this game already, but that's my thought process now. The real could have been treading her. That could not be. So then Igna's scream. That was probably from when he woke up from being called back to this world. Wait, so... Oh, I know what he's saying. Because I was like, oh, he woke up, he came back to life. No, because you don't just channel someone. Guys, I'm so sorry I messed this up. Like, I'm so sorry I messed the theory up. When you channel someone's spirit, you don't become a person in their body. You don't become Maya walking around as that spirit. You become Igna. The thing is, though, I still think it could be used to escape, because then Igna would be able to get out probably, if the ropes are tied around Maya, she's much smaller than Igna. Igna could get out of the ropes. That's why I'm thinking about the escape thing. But the thing I'm so sorry I got this thing wrong. I know just like it's not that complicated, but like sometimes you will get stuff wrong. Sometimes you will make mistakes. Sometimes you're gonna look silly. But the thing is, he still would have been Igna. So he woke back up in this world and got startled. And if he had a knife in his back already at that point, after what happened, Yeah, I don't know. It does make sense. Yeah, sorry guys, I made a few mistakes when it comes to the channeling thing, because we know the channeling thing. I just think sometimes when you're doing a playthrough, guys, you're gonna look silly. You're gonna look a bit silly sometimes, you know, you're gonna get stuff wrong. It's part of being a Let's Player, I feel like, you know? But yeah, I imagine that was because he got startled. After all, that's what when the flow of time would have picked back up from after he died. So Mr. Igna probably leapt to his feet, thinking he just had a nightmare. Then realizing it was almost time for the hostage exchange, he raced off to Amara's tomb, not even realizing he was already dead. That's insane. The thought of him like trying to go like he's like trying to keep on schedule and he's already dead. Then her benevolence really did see a dead man running. That's horrific. If you think from Rafa's perspective, she watched her father walk as a dead man. Like, how horrible is that? So horrible. Using the sacred power of the serial channeling to commit a crime? How can this be? The defense calls Miss Maya Fey to the stand. Is she okay? Well, Your Eminence, will you allow the new witness? It matters not. Either way, this lawyer shall soon know the truth. He will know how much of an imbecile he is in the face of an infallible arguments. Insult me all you want, witch, but you'll be eating those words when I expose the truth. I guess we have Maya Fey on the stand. Very well, let's adjourn until the next witness is ready. We're about to question Maya. To be continued, that makes sense. That makes perfect sense. That makes perfect sense. We will save her progress. So, we now know that Maya is going to be involved in this in some way. And the huge thing about this for me is that, one, I got a bit confused, for sure. But what we're realizing about this is that Maya, I do think it still could be a thing where she tried to maybe channel him to escape in some way, right? Because again, what happens is they take over your body, but wouldn't he be wearing her outfit like they did before? That's the thing. I wonder. We'll see what happens. But Igna would have woken up and been like, "Oh my god, I'm late," and ran. It would have been like he was having a nightmare, right? So we know that Maya did possibly channel Igna, and that's what Rafa saw when she was like, she saw her dad being channeled, and she was able to see like basically a dead version of her father, which is so heavy when you think about it. It's so freaking heavy. Another thing I got wrong, as I said in this episode as well, the idea of what you can channel. I was like, oh, maybe she channeled Dirk. It's like, no, you have to be dead to channel them, of course. You have to have the name, was it the face, and all this stuff, and they have to be gone. So they're saying because of the timing, it couldn't have been Garan, so it had to have been Maya. Now, Maya, I love that right away Phoenix and Apollo are saying the right thing, which is like she could have done it for a reason. That's so true. Maybe she was on a duress. Maybe someone forced her. I thought it was to escape, which again, I think it's actually a very smart way of escaping if you think about it. Because usually they channel your body, right? So she could have probably like had a bit. And the thing is, like, if you're the resistance and the force of that, right? If you're tied up by ropes and you become this like 6'6", burly dude, you're probably gonna like break out of the ropes, right? In some way, or at least rip, or at least stretch the ropes, or something like that, And that's my thought process now. Like, it could have been escape, but it could be wrong with that as well, 100%. What we learned in this episode, though, is that the timing of the death did not line up with the actual seance that we had in our mind. The seance showed that he basically tried to fire off a shot at 2 p.m. He tried to, he felt pain at 2 p.m. He was looking at the picture of the Holy Mother at 2 p.m. And the biggest thing I think, and I love the way this game does this, is that they really play on the fact of like relationships and emotions in this game too. We know that he would have reacted when Dirk came in. I love that we were able to pick up on that. That's awesome. I'm not saying it's awesome that we did it. I'm so awesome. I mean, it's just like really fun that we're able to pick up on something like that. I love that I love that like we were able to pick up on the idea of the explosion from earlier, which was the firecracker. It's a scene that I'll never forget just because of like how like much I was scolding That's a Rebel in that moment. But it plays back up in the scene. Now, originally I thought what was going to happen was we were going to say that Nana was the one on the phone to him because she grabbed the hat. He grabbed the hat of Nana. Maybe she was there, but it didn't come up. At least not now. It didn't come up. But I wonder if it will come back up with the Nana's hat thing is gonna have to come up again. It's gonna have to, because we're avoiding it almost now. It feels like, but like Shadow did find Nana's hat. Excuse me, at that moment. So we have that as well. We know that now Garan did point back and say, well, look, it's one of those situations where Rafa saw him going there at 2:30 p.m. But then, of course, we're talking about the idea of channeling after that too. And I think it's one of those things where it is like it's using their own culture to our advantage, because I think it's one of those situations where if you just suggest cold, like outright cold in a courtroom, hey, what if he got channeled? You're going to probably have some pushback unless it's a situation where it's already been established that there has been channeling, right, in the court case. In this situation, how can someone really not at least open this up for questioning? And I think that's what Apollo and Phoenix probably realized too. It's like, it just makes sense. This whole world is about the seance. Like, it has magic in it. It has the channeling. So us suggesting that it could be someone channeling Igna is just something that aligns with their beliefs and their world system and all this stuff too. So like, it wouldn't really like go against their whole like system and what they think. So us suggesting it could be Maya is also something important too, because now we can question Maya. It also helps us as well because saying it's the queen obviously doesn't work because she has an alibi. Whether the alibi is true or not, there's nothing we can really do. But like, I'm assuming that like you can easily verify if you're not going to lie about a world leader or a president or someone from another world or another country is having tea with you, because that can have big ramifications, like in a court case. You know, oh, you lied and said I was with you at the time. That's going to break down relations with another country instantly. If you're a president of a country and you lie saying, oh yeah, I was with, I couldn't have committed that crime because I was with President Peterson at that time. President Peterson's going to be like, dude, I was not with you at that time. Do not drag me into this. So I think it's also like a really important detail when it comes to that as well. So I think that can be considered a strong alibi, at least for now. So we have to say it was Maya. And again, I think there's going to be a good reason. And of course, and I love that Apollo and Phoenix jumped to that right away. There is going to be a good reason that Maya did this. And also, it's going to be one of those situations where it's going to be tough questioning Maya. It's going to be really tough because she's a victim in all this. But at the same time, too, it's the only thing we can do to really save our lives and Maya's life and Dirk's life is to question Maya in the sense. It was hard to question Rafa. It's going to be hard to question Maya. As I said, this whole this whole trial is going to be really personal. It's even difficult seeing Nayuta be like the queen's lapdog in this situation, too. It's really, really difficult. And actually feels kind of bad. It's a really like, I don't know, like it's not a difficult difficult trial to go through, because it's not that it's straightforward. It's not straightforward. But there's a lot of stuff that leads into other things. And there's a lot of very memorable things in this trial. The firecracker is so memorable. The stuff with the war bat is so memorable because they emphasized this so much before we went into this, because I think they knew how long this was going to be. So they kept like saying it 20 times. What's the sound of that war bat? Rrr. Oh, is that a war bat? Rrr. Oh, that's the sound of the war bat. Rrr. The firecrackers thing. That was such a big scene. And then Albie making a statement about everything there as well and how he ran after Shadow. All this stuff is like, documented, important proof that's right there. And they emphasized all of the evidence like over and over and over again. So I think it's one of those things where like, it's difficult because there's a lot of complicated twists and turns, but it's also like easier for me because there's also so much emphasized evidence, if that makes sense. There's like so much, and again, they emphasize evidence all the time in this trial where they will point to it like, where it's like, it must have been the time. How could she have done this at this time and this time? How could she have done this in the ice skating rink? They do that all the time in Ace Attorney, but I think more than ever, because they knew this trial was so long and this case was so long, they truly like over and over again emphasize the war bad noise. They over and over again, like not over and over again, but they made the firecracker scene long enough that it was actually like more than just a comedy scene. So it actually, you remember it, So they are trying to make you remember these things too. And again, as I said, they do that in other Ace Attorney trials. I think that they're just like re-emphasizing this stuff like even harder because it was a very long case. But they always lead you to like kind of like a good answer anyway. So I always really appreciate that too. Yeah, my thoughts on this whole trial, I think Rafa is incredible for what she did today. I love that she's still kind of a bit prickly with Phoenix, because again, it's not like she hates him, but I think that's like now it's gone from being like an insulting nickname to that's the equivalent of her calling someone like her best friend, Barbed Head and Horned Head. You know what I mean? It's like a nickname for them now. It's gone from being like, oh, she's insulting them to being like, these are my trusted confidants. I love that even during the trial, Phoenix like stopped Apollo from being too aggressive with Rafa, because he knows her very well now. She is like someone who acts very tough. She's very self-conscious. It was a big deal for what she did today. She did this for her people. She did this for the truth. So I'm very, very proud of her in that sense too. What we have to figure out going forward with this is why would Maya channel Igna? Did she channel Igna? In that sense, who told her to channel Igna, or if it is a thing where she was, as I said, she was trying to use it to escape. Did she remember any of the moments after she escaped as Igna? There's all these different questions, but it all relates to the idea of her channeling Igna. And I think it's like very fresh and very clean going into this, not because it's not complicated, but we have like one kind of like real question going into the second part of this, which is Maya channeling Igna. It's a question: did she channel Igna, and why would she channel Igna? I'm not saying they're getting rid of all the other stuff, but I feel like we talked about so much of the stuff here, the alibis, the timing, and all this stuff too, that I kind of like that. And I want to make clear, it's going to get complicated again. It will. It's going to get complicated again with all the different evidence. But going into the to be continued, it's leaving us with one question on our mind. Well, two questions, but a question about Maya on our mind. It's leaving Maya on our mind, and that's a good cliffhanger.
Will you be joining us? Then it's settled.
So we have to figure out what's going to happen with that in the next one. But yeah, as I said, summary. Very proud of Apollo and Phoenix working together. Very proud of Rafa for doing this for herself and all the people here in Crane, and also really adore the kind of like way that they're emphasizing evidence, and the way it's kind of like out of the box, and it's kind of like really like out of left field, all the stuff we're doing here. And it's specifically very much related to the idea of Crane and all this stuff too. I love the revelations with the timing, but all that stuff is always really fun. It's really cool. Like, this is like a really great way of doing like a last trial. It is. Because as I said, it's so personal, it's so heavy, but all these stuff is like super, super fun as well. It's super fun to try and like, decipher all this stuff, even if sometimes we get some stuff wrong in a silly way. Thank you guys for watching this episode. Let me get the Patreon names. And thank you so much for supporting the series. If you want to see the series early, you can pay €1 on the Patreon or $1.50. And that's the same price on the YouTube members. Or if you want to see your name in the credits, you can see the names going up right now, and that is the scrolling of the credits. And that's for €10 or €12.50. Or you can get your name read out by me in every single video, and that's every single video. And that will be at the €15 or the $17.50 tier. I want to say thank you to those patrons at that tier: TieFire02, Jamie Bull, Jana the Banana, The Ghost of Inazuma, Felicious Felix, Yule, Anusta, The Assassin, True Peanut Butter, Peter Shelson, Liam, High Kasparian, Jared Beanman, Neo Sharite, and at the highest tier of my YouTube, Royal Gamer 7, Blasco, and Lucinagi. See you guys soon. Bye-bye.